what is an upcoming original movie that you're really looking forward to? What's up, everybody? So, my answer to this question is The Avenging Silence, which is a movie that is going to be directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, and actually written by the James Bond script writers for the longest time, Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, and it's going to be starring Mads Mikkelsen. I'm a big fan of Nicholas Winding Refn. He's so out there. He's like a madman when it comes to the movies that he makes, and specifically, I'm talking about Drive and Only God Forgives. It's such a unique visual style that he has. His approach to violence is really graphic, but also like emotionally visceral. I think that that's like the best way I can describe, some of his violent action sequences. I feel like, because a lot of people talk about Tarantino and how he approaches violence, but they're very different. In Tarantino's case, there's a realism involved, but at the same time, it's kind of cartoonish. And whereas with Winding Refn, it's he wants you to be physically disturbed by it, by the violence, and I kind of appreciate that. I appreciate that it's a way of eliciting an emotional response with somebody with something so incredibly graphic. I'm thinking specifically of the scene in Drive where Ryan Gosling's character literally stomps the head in of the person next to him, while somebody else is watching. Uh, and one, it's kind of, there's like a slow build up to it. You kind of feel like that is going to happen, but when it does, you're so shocked by it. You're so taken aback and you're disturbed by it, which is kind of what the other person in the elevator is meant to feel and what we as the audience is meant to feel. And then of course there's like especially with his work with Ryan Gosling, he's a very quiet character, in the sense of like there's a lot going on behind the eyes and you can probably make an educated guess. You can probably have a feeling about what's happening, but then when something does happen, you're completely taken aback. You have no idea. You had no idea that this was going to happen, but it's not really a surprise to the audience. More of like, okay, you could have gone right, but you could also understand how you can go left, type of deal. So subverting the expectations of the author. I also really like that he's working with Neil Purvis and Robert Wade because for a while there, I forget which movie it was, but which James Bond movie, but he was in talks to direct a Bond movie, and eventually it never really happened. And so the fact that now they're working together, I think is interesting. And also when you take account the premise of it, which is a mute former European spy washes up in Japan after a failed mission, and he needs to find clues to prevent a Yakuza mafia boss from returning. And so I like the combination of everything. I like the premise of it, the whole mute aspect of it, which was something that was, I forget who the director was. I want to say John Woo, but it's called Silence, or Silent Night, excuse me. And it was kind of the same deal, whereas the main character doesn't have a voice, and they still have to figure out a way to get the job done, in that movie. And so it's kind of interesting to see an actor portray that without dialogue, with only body language and facial expressions. But look, I'm gonna watch anything that Nicholas Winding Refn does, and the fact that he's partnered with the former James Bond writers and Mads Mikkelsen, I think is a great combination. Anyways, what about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.